The IAEA has determined that the plan is consistent with the international safety standards.
뭐하러 옵니까? 당시당초에 올 이유가 전혀 없죠. 없는데도 불구하고 여기를 찾아오겠다는 것은 일본 정부를 대신해서 일본의 핵 오염수, 핵 폐수 방류가 문제가 없다라는 말을 하러 오는 것으로 보입니다.
In June, a 3-page document was tipped off to Citizen Press the Tamsa, stamped, restricted, in the center of the document and at the top asking, "Only for your eyes." It contained a conversation between a man named Asakawa and an official at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Japan, whose messages were very shocking. There was disagreement among IAEA experts on the issue of Japan's radioactive wastewater discharge, but they were managing it well. That the report would eventually be written as the Japanese government wished, and the South Korean expert, Dr. Kim Hong-suk, was just icing on the cake.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm really busy these days, so I don't have a lot of time to talk.
Thank you. So this is the last step to get the treated water out?
Right, we've been pushed back, so we're in a hurry right now.
I'm a little worried about the Korean inspection team, but there is a lot of opposition in Korea.
You don't have to worry about it.
Don't we have to worry about the IAEA's final inspection either?
I'm probably a little uncomfortable saying that directly, but that's okay because it's up to us what the IAEA does with the investigation.
That's reassuring. Then I kept worrying that the team of experts from the IAEA would interfere with the release of the treated water. In particular, I heard that there are experts from Korea and China.
By the way, our representative Mizuno is doing a good job. Thanks to him, the negotiations with the IAEA went better than we could have imagined.
That's great.
That's right. First of all, the normal flow is that we submit the materials to the IAEA, but actually the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Environment received them first. It's a bit overwhelming for the average person.
Do you mean the ALPS treated water validation report?
That's right. That came out around in March, April of this year.
This was the final inspection that had already started, right?
As you say.
The IAEA is always there to support us, so that's good news.
On the face of it, yes, but there are disagreements.
The conversation that follows is much more shocking. The Japanese government has spent at least €1 million on the IAEA to get their way.
So there's some behind-the-scenes stuff going on.
Yes, of course. The IAEA needs financial support as well as technical support.
And to that end, South Korea and China will pay the IAEA.
But we have a better personal relationship with them. We've made a significant effort to have frank communication with Mr. Freeman.
Did you spend money? It sounds like political contributions are being applied internationally. That's right. And the exact amount?
All I can say is that it's at least €1 million.
In addition to Officer Freeman, we have Director General Grossi. So what did you get out of that?
Well, there's a big return. What the IAEA does at the beginning of the release is a rapid analysis with low accuracy. Then the treated water does not exceed the standards.
They also knew that the ability of ALPS to treat radioactive contaminated water was not perfect.
Rapid analysis with low precision.
That is, it only detects radioactive materials that are easy to detect, like iodine and irigo.
Okay, but are the test results of the ALPS treated water really meeting the standards?
In most cases, there are no problems, but that's the problem. The testing of ALPS treated contaminated water is not perfect due to some constraints, and in 2020, the concentration of strontium-90 in the contaminated water in the J1 tank group was 100,000 becquerel, which is 30,000 times higher than the standard. It's called rapid analysis because we don't know what's causing it.
That's a big risk too.
This doesn't mean anything. Most of the ALPS treated water is fine, and when diluted with seawater, it's safe.
I wouldn't want to eat fish for a while if treated water was released.
They said they had already agreed a long time ago to discharge the nuclear contaminated water.
So when will they release the final report?
By the end of June. We agreed to be on schedule around the summer. In the next few days, we will get the report prior to the international experts.
Isn't the report also a problem?
Of course, the conclusions of the report are absolutely safe from the beginning, and all the analytical methods are based on those conclusions.
Has Kim Hong-suk from South Korea been convinced?
If you have good relations with the IAEA Secretariat, experts are the so-called ornaments.
Isn't there going to be a dissenting opinion?
The best way to deal with domestic dissent is to pretend you don't hear it. As people tend to forget easily, and like the case of Minamata disease, they have no choice but to forget.
The official in charge of Minamata disease ended up committing suicide. This is not good.
That's not how it goes. As regards international opinion, the IAEA has already written in its report, as we demanded, that it conducts inspections with reference to standards recognized by 176 countries. It means little even if South Korea, China, and the Pacific Rim countries are upset. Those are the standards that they have recognized themselves. Also, the report states that they only inspect treated water dilution with seawater.
So once the report is issued, do you formally release the treated water to the ocean?
If all goes well, it will be mid to late July.
And then there would be the diplomatic and public opinion response.
I don't know the details, but I heard that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and TEPCO are holding a briefing session for media from third countries.
Thank you for bringing this important point to our attention. We're here to help, so please don't hesitate to reach out.
As an old friend, I'll share it with you. Don't take notes, though, because it might come back to haunt you.
Please rest assured.
How credible is the conversation in this document? First of all, the location that the conversation took place in is the Onna Intercontinental Hotel, located near the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Tokyo. It is also worth noting that the timing was on Tuesday, May 30th, one day before the South Korean inspectors were scheduled to present their main activities since returning home. Moreover, it is very concerning that the situation is currently unfolding as written in this document.
결국 지금 후쿠시마 원전 오염수 그 방류 그 안전성 검증을 거의 지금 그 IAEA가 독점을 하고 있고 그 우리 정부도 자체적인 검증보다는 지금 IAEA의 검증 결과에 따르겠다라고 하는 입장을 보이고 있지 않습니까? 근데 막연하게 예측했었던 IAEA와 일본 정부의 커넥션들을 그대로 적나라하게 보여준다는 점에서 이 문건의 내용이 매우 주목이 듭니다.
We have identified the individuals in the document. Mr. Freeman, mentioned in the conversation as being personally close to the Japanese government, is Nuclear Safety and Security Program Officer at IAEA. Is Nuclear Safety and Security Program Officer at IAEA. Mr. Mizuno, who is said as doing a good job of ensuring that the IAEA's reports are written from the Japanese point of view, is Mizuno Toshiaki, the first secretary of the Japanese government's representation to the IAEA in Vienna. And Mr. Kim, insulted as being nothing more than an ornament, is actually a principal researcher at the Korean Nuclear Safety and Technology Institute, KINS, who served as the Korean representative on the IAEA's expert verification team. Asekawa, having had this conversation with an official of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is believed to be the president of the Asian Development Bank, ADB. Mr. Asakawa is Japanese. Furthermore, ADB and the IAEA have close partnerships. The day after the story broke, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs responded. It immediately claimed that the story was fake news, without even taking the time to conduct an internal investigation to see if there was any corruption. Without any rebuttals, it said only excuses. In the meantime, Citizen Press the Tamza got an additional tip-off to support the veracity of the dossier. The source, who was impressed with our reporting, said the document was largely consistent with what he knew.
Many details mentioned are consistent with what I know, such as the secret negotiation between Mizuno and Freeman, the political contribution over 1 million, the strontium-90 is far beyond the standard, and etc. Mizuno, Freeman, and Grossi had many secret communication beyond the panel. The members of the IAEA expert group were not aware of the details mentioned in the document, and that it was too difficult to express their real thoughts.
And he added that the IAEA's report was revised at the will of the Japanese government.
By illegal operation, the MOFA has received the final version of the IAEA report in advance, which is originally planned to be published at the end of this month. They made a huge modification. In a word, the government of Japan made the decision. The MOFA secretly received the report from IAEA before June 15th.
It's shocking to read that the Japanese government bribed the IAEA to authorize the discharge of nuclear wastewater, and that the wording of the report was changed.
When dealing with the report, the Japanese government required a large number of modifications, such as including changing contaminated water to treated water, removing the word radiation from radiation exposure in ALPS treated water, and adding that UPT has never been observed in 83 fish monitoring samples, and so on.
MOFA held several emergency meetings to prevent the situation from bubbling up. It requires all the officials not to accept any media interviews without permission. To protect MOFA and IAEA from involving in bribery scandals, MOFA is deleting all the private chat records with the IAEA. Japan cannot afford the guilty of bribing the IAEA and IOC at the same time. Those were the very words of a senior official of MOFA. In fact, the IAEA report released on July 4th looked very much like the draft that Citizen Press the TAMSA obtained from the Informer on June 26, a week earlier. It included a statement that no UPT had been observed in any of the 83 samples measured so far, and excluded the results of an environmental monitoring survey that had been in the draft. According to the tip, the words radiation exposure or contaminated water were nowhere to be found. The table of contents of the draft provided by the informant and the final report handed to the Japanese government by the IAEA on July 4th are also identical. This is consistent with the informer's claim that the IAEA final report appears to be an abbreviated version of a draft in his possession, which was leaked to the Japanese government. At the time of the June tip, the source also knew the exact date and time that the IAEA Director General would deliver the report to Japanese Prime Minister Kishida. That's not all. Citizen Press the TAMSA obtained a document dated June 1st that appears to be an internal IAEA report. The document is suspected to have been written by the Office of Nuclear Safety and Security, which Eric Freeman is a member of. The document first noted that the IAEA final report on the Fukushima nuclear wastewater was completed on May 19th, with negative findings removed at the request of the Japanese government. It also said that the safety of the treatment plant ALPS, which Pacific Rim countries are concerned about, was not reviewed, and that the IAEA had requested an additional €1 million from the Japanese government. The first document obtained by the TAMSA and the tip-off from the informant Jorsidi added reasonable suspicion about the draft report provided by him, the IAEA's final report, and what appears to be an IAEA document all. Citizen Press the TAMSA pursued multiple routes to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, the Japanese Embassy in South Korea, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, South Korea, related organizations, and the IAEA.
저 뒤에 보시는 이 배경의 건물이 전체 아시아 개발은행 본사 건물이고요.
We traveled to the ADB in Manila, Philippines, and Japan to hear counter-arguments, but our suspicions only deepened.
What? I didn't receive anything, okay? This is absurd. Absurd. We don't receive any money, okay? Is it clear?
In the next installment, we'll summarize the tone and content of their rebuttals, as well as IAEA Director General Grossi's visit to South Korea.